Through Microsoft Query, you can retrieve data from an external database and data source. A query is a question that you ask in regards to the data that is stored on an external database. A common use for queries is to work between Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Access. You can pull all or part of the data based on the query that you create in Excel. To create a query in Excel, you need to have your database developed and accessible, as well as your data source developed and accessible within that database. Then you can initiate Microsoft Query by going to your Data tab in your ribbon and to the Get External Data command. Select that and choose From Other Sources. When you select From Other Sources, a menu displays allowing you to choose from Microsoft Query. When you select From Microsoft Query, this will open up the Choose Data Source dialog box and actually launches Microsoft Query in the background. In the Choose Data Source dialog box, you can choose the database that you would like to query. We're going to go ahead and query a Microsoft Access database. So I'll select this option and double click it to actually open up the Select Database dialog box, and now I can browse to where my database exists. Select it and then choose OK to create the link. Now I go into the Query Wizard and I can go ahead and choose the data that I'd like to pull from the data source. Well, here I'd like to go ahead and select the inventory and item. I'll go ahead and move that over here for my query. I can choose other columns to add to my query by simply selecting them and clicking the Add button here. But for right now, item is fine. Then by clicking the Next button, I can move on to the Filter Data dialog box of the Query Wizard. Here I can set my columns and filters. So I'll choose my item column and set my filter to be Contains. And I'm going to look for all the data that contains the word blueberry. Then I'll go ahead and click Next, and I can choose how I want to sort my item in ascending order. And then by clicking Next, I will move on to the final screen of the Query Wizard. And it's where do you want your data to appear? Do you want your data to be returned to Excel or to view them in Microsoft Query? I'm going to keep Return Data to Microsoft Excel option selected and then choose Finish. You could also save this query if it's one you will use in the future by choosing the Save Query button and entering in the required information. I'll go ahead and choose Finish, and notice that I now have the dialog box Import Data, and I need to select how I want to view this data in my workbook. I want to view it as a table, and I'll keep the default option selected and then click OK. This will then pull in all the data based on my query from my Microsoft Access database that fit the criteria of having blueberry in the name. Microsoft Query is a very powerful feature that you can use between any database and Excel, and in particular with Excel and Access. If you would like to learn more about Microsoft Query, you can through the Excel help file. If you open up the help file and then type Query into your Find field, this will pull up the topic of Use Microsoft Query to retrieve external data. When you select this link, you will be presented with the information about Microsoft Query in relationship to Excel. If you like, take a moment and read through this information to learn more about Microsoft Query and its uses with Microsoft Excel. When you are done, please move on to the next movie.